Okay, good morning, everyone. Let's begin the day with charity, like as usual. Charity. Sion the Mishpat the Pada the Shavel Tzedakah. Here is giving charity. Whoa, today. So first of all, Hashem should protect their soldiers and should bring back the prisoners and should give us Mashiach. Mashiach, we need a normal government. Shiva Shevtenuk Rishona B'Yotzenuk V'Adchila, bring back proper judges and proper judgment. Bring the Gula in Yisrael Nigolim Elab the Tzedakah. So we have Tzedakah, V'Shavev Tzedakah. The Tzedakah box. Good. I had the cover of this thing. So I lost. Where's the cover? All right. So we're learning now about the going out of Egypt and how this is just a hint, a hint of preparation for the future redemption. What's going to be in the future redemption? Now, just you have to remember that the first of the Ten Commandments, pretty much everybody agrees. Good morning. Pretty much everybody agrees that the Ten Commandments have some sort of veracity. There's some sort of truth to the Ten Commandments. Even people that that disagree with what the rabbis say and what this says, but the Ten Commandments have some sort of a special, unquestionable factualness, whatever's to them. Ten Commandments that's a movie, the Ten Commandments, and nobody's going to do a movie about the Torah or the rabbis or this. But Ten Commandments, that's a special thing. And now they're putting the Ten Commandments. There's a question: should we put them into the schools, into the courtrooms? And this 10 Commandments are special. What's the first of the 10 Commandments? The first of the 10 Commandments is, "I am God that took you out of Egypt." First of the 10 Commandments. I am God that took you out of Egypt. It could be there's some people that deny that that's the first. There are some opinions that say that that's not the first of the 10 Commandments, but almost all the opinions, 99%, whatever, say the first of the 10. What is that? What is that commandment? I am God that took you out of Egypt. It's making a statement, some sort of a statement. Okay, what is the statement based on? There's a whole story that comes before that. There was a person called Abraham, and God made an agreement with Abraham because Abraham totally devoted his life to improving the world according to God's standards. As God said, I'm going to make a special covenant with you, give you a special soul, and you're going to fix up what Adam messed up. And I put Adam into this world to fix up the world. He didn't do it. And now it's going to be then after that. And so God made a special covenant with Abraham. You're going to be my people. And from you is going to come a whole nation that's going to go into Egypt. They're going to go into Egypt. They're going to be slaves in Egypt, and they're going to get out with big riches. And that's what happened. That's the Jewish people. God made what's called an agreement between the pieces, and the Jewish people went down. Millions and millions of Jewish people were slaves in Egypt for a couple hundred years. Millions. And then all of a sudden came a person called Moses. And so the Jews were always different. They were always second class, third class, fourth class, fifth class citizens. They were in Egyptian, kept the bondage over there for like 4 generations in different stages, but harder bondage and less bondage and worse bondage. Anyway, they were in Egypt. The whole entire nation, the whole entire Jewish nation. Everybody knew who a Jew was. A Jew was the one who came and cleaned up your floor, or shined your shoes or something. It was a Jew built. The Jews are out in the field. Want to find the Jew? Go out in the field. They're all collecting straw, whatever, in order to make bricks to build who knows what cities and sphinxes or something. And then comes along Moses. The Jews get out. They all get out of Egypt. They all get out. It says 4/5 didn't want to get out. In any case, the Jews got out. That's the beginning of the Jewish nation as such. They got out and they were free to be God's servants. Then they become the servants of God. When did they become the servants of God? That's what God promised Moses at the burning bush, when they and Mount Sinai. The burning bush was on Mount Sinai. It says, yeah, the Jews are going to serve me on this mountain. That's when the Jews became servants of God. Servants of God. Now, what's the first of the 10 Commandments? To remind the Jewish people of that their God is not like any other God. Their God took them out of Egypt. Their God is very active in the world. Their God gave them the Torah. All the Jewish people, millions of people. Let's say about 3 million people, with the children, with the women, and they all receive. That's the first of the. I am God that took you out of Egypt. Why? To give you the Torah. Torah. We've talked about this a lot of times, but just in general, all these other religions, there's a lot of religions in the world, and they're all powerful. Almost all of them are more popular than Judaism. They're more populated, and they're more popular. They're more popular. And here, and none of them have the story about, that they were all slaves and that God personally appeared to all of them and told them what they want and told them what God wants, etc., like that. And they're successful. All the other religions are successful. Judaism, God gave them this book, gave them this book. Okay, if you look and see what the Torah is, there's amazing, seemingly meaningless details, packed with details upon details upon details, what God wants and what exactly Shabbat is, and especially the commandment. Listen to the rabbis. The rabbis came and they brought out from the Torah all the deepest meanings and deepest secrets and details and more details and details. What exactly is tefillin? What does it mean? The totafot b'nei necha. Details. What is a Jew? What is a Rosh Hashanah? What is a shofar? What is it? The mezuzah? What is tzitzis? What is this? There's books filled with laws and laws and laws and laws. That's what God gave to the Jews. So that's what we say in our prayers. Ein Elokeinu. There's nothing like our God. The God of Israel cares about details, little tiny details, cares about details, and God cares about not only the details that are written in the Torah, but also the details in every human being's life. Every human being, Jew, non-Jew, no matter where, hidden in the middle of the desert, living on the top of the mountains, whatever, every single human being God cares about. And not only every human being, but every single animal and every single plant and every star and every this. And then there's billions of angels, but there's nothing like the things in this world. The angels does it. And that's all that is implied by this first commandment. I am God that took you out of Egypt. Just one second. Okay. When the helicopter goes over my house, it's a sign that they're bringing a soldier to the hospital over here. So say a little prayer for them. Okay, so I mean, this war is just so ridiculous. The Rebbe said clearly that when there's such a case, that we have to do is to just simply carpet bomb them totally. And as soon as they see that we're really sincere to do it, then it could be that they'll give up without a fight. That's what the Rebbe said. As it is, we've lost so many soldiers that have been killed, and so many are without limbs. So many are limbs. I don't know, 1,000. I'm afraid to look. Tell you the truth, I'm afraid to look at the. Just it pains. Young boys, so beautiful. Any case, let's go back. There we got the first commandment. So where do we find this first commandment? In the Torah. So here we see this weird thing that God does. First of all, he puts the Jews into exile. Then after that, he takes them out with big miracles. Then after that, he gives them the Torah. And in the Torah, the first of the 10 commandments is, I am God that took you out of Egypt. I'm God also that put you into Egypt. He put us into Egypt, and he took us out of Egypt, and then he gave us it's written in the Torah. And the fourth of the 10 commandments is that God created the world in 6 days, and the seventh day rest. So God is announcing that he took the Jews out of Egypt. He gave them the Torah, and he's creating the world. Those are the three basics of Judaism, if you want to call it. God took us out of Egypt. He cares about every detail in the world. He gave us the Torah. He cares, and the Torah is especially for the Jews. There are 7 Noahide commandments in the world, but that's just to tell the Jews what they're supposed to convince the world to do. Okay, so that's the Torah. So now here we're learning about the Torah, and we're saying that the Torah is the main way of getting the Jews out of this exile. So we'll learn later on to charity also, but here he's talking about the importance of the Torah. Now, again, we have to understand that the Torah is not just a book that God gave a long time ago. The Torah is the will and the wisdom of God himself. It's not just one of many books that, one in a series or something of books that God is going to write, or some sort of, the first of the, Encyclopedia Judaica or something like that. And this is the first of them, is that, no, the Torah is the only blueprint for all reality. The entire creation, stars with angels, with planets, with levels, with the secrets of the Tzimtzum and the Kav and all these ideas, the 10 Sfirot and all these things, and every single detail of every step, it's all in the Torah. Okay, so it's all in the Torah. Let's see, somebody over here is everybody? Okay, wonderful, good, okay. Okay, so the Rebbe says, how do we get out of the exile? How do we get out of this terrible exile? The temple is destroyed. Nobody cares about going out of Egypt. Nobody cares about God. Only very few people do. Nobody cares about what's good. Everybody has become terribly selfish and confused and frustrated and depressed and addicted, and there's wars all over the world and pestilence and all that. And the whole thing could be just alleviated if God was just revealed. And that's called Geula, revealing God in the world, revealing the Creator in the world. How do we do that? Says the Rebbe through the Torah. Through the Torah. Okay, this is where we got up to. Abraham, God said to Abraham, you're going to be in exile. How do you want the Jews to get out of this? I'm sorry, he says that the Jews are going to mess up. How do you want to get fixed up? How do you want the Jews to get fixed up, the world to get fixed up? Either you can choose, the Jews will go to hell, and hell is this terrible pain, or they'll go into exile. Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Or the Jews will go into exile. Which would you rather? Exile or hell? So it was an equal choice. Both of them are equally painful in some ways. Just excuse me 1 second. I'm just trying to arrange this whole thing. Okay. So it says that even though that hell is incredible pain, you can't possibly imagine it, but going through the exile in some ways is the same thing. Okay, so ask a question. What happens? A person goes to hell, as hell is a refinement process. It's like, a car wash or something. You go through this automatic process that God has, and the person gets cleaned. You get cleaned up from your bad thoughts, your bad deeds, your improper speech that you did, all of your improper goals, your proper ideas, and then your soul is clean. You just have a clean soul. That cleans the soul out, and that fixes the Jews up. Or you can go through what's called exile. What's exile? Exile is the Jews get spread all over the whole world, and they get mixed in with the non-Jews, and that cleans the soul. That cleans the soul. That's the problem. that dirties the soul. We see what everybody, how you can live a good life, a successful life, without the Torah, without commandments, where you can learn that you can cheat, you can lie. The people who lie and cheat, they raise up to the top. How is it that the exile cleans you? How can it possibly be? Okay, so that's what we got up to. Neshama, the soul is a creation, and the soul is Baal Gavul. It is limited. And it's impossible for the soul to receive any sort of pleasure, infinite pleasure, without on its own. The pleasure is because the pleasures of heaven are revelations of the Creator, and the soul is just a creation, so it can't receive it. Or a tainug, only when this pleasure of God is put into kliva lavush, in some sort of a garment. What is this garment? We're going to see it's the Torah. Ota or kasama, like it says that the God puts on light like a garment. The garment of God is the Torah or Torah. The ideas of the Torah, the understanding of the Torah. When God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, he gave himself. He gave his wisdom, and his will is in those letters of the Torah. And God's wisdom and God's will, that's the commandments, the words, the letters of the Torah. And when a Jew learns the Torah, and when he understands the Torah, as those when he fulfills the Torah, when he does what it says in the Torah, then that provides garments. And with those garments, a person can receive the godliness which is in heaven. And we learned yesterday that it's worth all the pains of hell, which is indescribable pain, even for 1 second. It's worth it for years just to get 1 second of the world to come. So much pleasure. But you can't get the world to come unless you have the proper garments. So it says God makes the garments. That's the Torah. And so it ends up that now we can a little bit sort of understand what was the idea of the 210 years of exile that the Jewish people were in Egypt. It was in order to receive the Torah. And the Torah is the only means by which you can receive these pleasures of heaven. That's what the Rebbe is saying here. Like it says, Anar Yotzei Eden, when God created the world, it says the river came out of Eden. Eden is like the essence pleasure of God. Then a river came out of Eden and it watered the garden. Eden, this level of Eden, right, the Garden of Eden, the Eden itself is this is the source of all pleasure. And the river that came out of it, this is in order to water the garden. What is this garden? The garden is the 53. Gan is Gimel is 3 and Nun is 50. The 52 orders of the Torah. Because Torah comes from wisdom. The Enis Labshus Orein Sof, and the infinite light of God cannot be clothed Ela b'chachma, only in chachma, which is koach ma, power bittel. V'nachnu ma. Therefore, the Torah, by means of the Torah, the soul can grasp what's called God's great name. His name. That's the name of this Torah portion. It's called Shemot. These are the names of the Jewish people. That's what we were talking about. Here we have God's great name. It says Shmo Gadol. When there's a prayer in Judaism that's called it's called the mourner's prayer, because people who are in mourning also do it. But it's in the prayer. It's in our daily prayers. We say it 5, 6, 7 times. It's called Kaddish, and Kaddish is saying Yiskadal v'Yiskada Shemo Rabba, Shmei Rabba, may be sanctified your great name. Yiskadal v'Yiskada Shmei Rabba, the great name of God. It's written in Aramaic. His great name. What is God's great name? So it says by means of God's great name, it says that's like this level of Eden, the source of all pleasure. Now, pleasure is what makes the world go round. Pleasure, right? People do anything for pleasure. So there's 2 types of pleasures. That's hinted at the 2 waters that God divided on the 2nd day of creation. It says God divided the upper waters and the lower waters. So the upper waters, those are pleasure in godliness. And the lower waters, because God made the world like a mirror image of holiness, God made the world to be like a mirror of that. So whatever there is in the side of holiness, of godliness, there is in the side of separation. So you get all the pleasures in the world. What people are willing to do for money, for power, for pleasure, for the success. People are willing to do anything, right? And people get expert at it, and they get good at it for the sake of rulership, right? For anything, for pleasure. Okay, so that's the lower pleasures of the world, and the lower pleasures of the world are pretty powerful. They're pretty powerful. And that's what makes the whole society go around. Once in a while, you find somebody that's really honest. Nobody believes you. Nobody believes you. That's I remember I once saw a cartoon. People are sitting in a bus stop. They're all waiting. and everybody's looking at their cellular phone. And one kid, he has got a cellular phone. He says to his mommy, he says his mother is sitting next to him, Mommy, there's a strange man sitting over there. It's just the person that hasn't got a cellular phone. He's just looking up. Everybody else is on their cellular phone. One guy's sort of looking up. He's just sort of just looking, just thinking, without a cellular phone. He hasn't got a cellular phone. Right? Everybody's in their cellular phones because everybody wants the little bit of pleasure that you get from watching some sort of a movie or reading some sort of a thing. It makes sense. One person is just interested in sort of, just looking at the world and thinking to himself that's so you get to break away from the unhealthy pleasures of this world is not that the pleasures of this world are bad, but they're bad if they're dominant. If they're dominant, it's bad. But if they're not dominant, then you put them in the right place, then the pleasures of the world are okay. To dress well, to eat well, to look normal, to brush your teeth. I mean, those are things. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Nothing wrong with that. But if it becomes dominant, then that's the bad thing. That's the lower waters. So that's why we're here, isn't to fix up that's exile. It was when the lower waters, the pleasures of this world, they dominate, and which is essentially selfishness. Selfishness dominates. Because what's the way out of it is the Torah. The Torah is the names of God. And when you learn the Torah, that helps to clarify, that is to heal the world. Now, this, of course, is all faith, because the people have been learning the Torah already since the Torah has been given for 3,300 years, and we see the world is in a pretty terrible state. And so, what can we say? We can say, I mean, there's all sorts of logic. You can use logical reasons and things like that. Look at the Jewish families, and they're more integrated, and there's more together, and there's less divorce, and there's less this, and there's less crime, and there's this. Okay, that's very nice. That's very nice, but that's not the point the Rebbe is trying to get to. That's true. It's true that it gives much more coherence to life and to this and that. But first of all, that's not 100% true all the time, and there's problems in Jewish families just like every other families. It could be that there's less, could be there's more. That's not the point. The point the Rebbe is trying to tell us here is the revelation of the Creator and the creation like it was before Adam ate from the tree, that the creation will become perfected. And I think everyone agrees that there is bad things in the world that have to be, and that people are doing all sorts of things to get rid of, right? Especially like the addictions, opiate addictions and other addictions to all sorts of crazy things on the internet, pictures and things, addictions. And there is aggression, there's war, and there's crime, and these things have to be done away with. The world can get along very well without these things. And the Rebbe is saying that if godliness is revealed in the world, then there won't be any of these negative, terrible things, right? The depression, people are taking drugs for depression. It's incredible. That's what it says, the rabbis. Okay, here we go. Ready? Shishim Hema Malchus. This is a sentence in the Song of Songs by King Solomon. It says there are 60 queens. These are the 60 Masechtot, the 60 tractates of the Torah, 60 tractates of the Talmud. Shmonim Pilagshim, and 80 concubines. That's what King Solomon writes. I advise everybody here to open up your the Bible and read in English the translation of the Song of Songs. There's a lot of translations. There's a lot of bad translations also, but it doesn't make any difference here because we're not going into the details. Just read, I say casually, the Song of Songs, the translation of the Song of Songs. There is no simple meaning. There is. If you think you understand anything, you're wrong. There's no simple meaning. And here's one of the examples. The whole Song of Songs is a love, this Shir Hashem. It's a love song between God and the Jewish people, and the Jewish people and God. Sometimes God is speaking, sometimes the Jewish people are speaking. And there's all these different aspects of God and these different aspects of the Jewish people. The Jewish people are called the sons of God. They're called the wife of God. That's the most prominent in this. The wife of God, the beloved of God, the sister of God. Right? They're called these, and God himself is used all sorts of metaphors for God. Okay, here's one of the cases. Here's the Torah is used. There's all these metaphors for the Torah. It says there are 60 queens those are the 60 tractates of the Talmud. 80 Pilagshim, those are the concubines. What are they? These are the Brightot. Brightot are like explanations of the in the Torah, the Mishnah, etc. the Gemara, the Almot Ein Mispar, these are the laws that come out. That's what it says in the Hine Adimayon, the comparison, Umashal, and the metaphor of the Mishnah. The Mishnah, so the Mishnahs, they're called the queens. 60 chapters of the Mishnah, that's called queens. There, by the way, there aren't 60 nowadays. There's less than 60 now. Now there's, generally speaking, 6 tractates of the Talmud, but once there was more. So the 60 of that's why are the 60 the chapters of the Mishnah, why are they called queens? Because it says, like the rabbis say, matnita malkata. The Mishnah are the queens. They're the rulers. They're the rulers. Okay. Again, when God gave the Torah, so he gave the Torah in code. I mean, it's amazing that God even said one word to the Jewish people, just one word that he said. But God said a lot of words. The Torah contains a lot of words. And the Torah, but all of those words, you can put them together. It's very, very difficult to understand, even the most simple meaning. What's being, we talked about that before. And the 10 Commandments, what does it mean? Don't kill. Don't kill what? Don't kill bacteria. Don't kill time. What does it mean? Don't kill. The most simple, obvious commandments, right, have to be explained. They have to. What is Shabbat? What day is Shabbat? It says one of the 10 Commandments: keep Shabbat. What Shabbat? One time Shabbat. What are you supposed to keep? What are you supposed to do? Don't do work. How long? Don't do work. When is Shabbat? When is Shabbat? Maybe just one time in your life. Just stay in bed. Don't do any work. And you kept Shabbat. Doesn't have to keep every Shabbat. You can make up anything you want to, right? Which day is Shabbat? Some say it's Friday. Sometimes it's Sunday. Sometimes it's right. So everything has to be explained by the rabbis, and that's what in the Torah, there's 2 places where it says you must listen to what the rabbis say. The rabbis have to interpret the Torah. If you have any questions, go to the rabbis, and the rabbis will. Okay, then there's a question: who is a rabbi? There's also criteria of that. That's also in the Torah. Essentially, the rabbis were people who were geniuses, but they were also serious and God-fearing. They really wanted to bring out the true meaning from every sentence, and that's all the arguments of the Talmud. So you can see that there's one genius against the other genius, and it says that every opinion in the Talmud is correct. So the whole idea of the Talmud and the explanation of the Torah, that's called the Mishnah. The Mishnah, it says the Mishnah, that's called the king or the queen. Like the rabbis say, Esha Mizras Odem Shemimenu Basar, like it says that the child, a baby, comes from the mother and the father. It says the father, he contributes all the white parts of the child, the bone, the brains, etc. And the woman, she gives all the red parts, the blood, the meat, the flesh. So it comes out that the main development of a child comes from the seed of the mother. And here it's the same thing with the Torah. The Torah is the law of God, the written Torah, the 5 books of Moses. That's like the bones, and that's like comes from the male aspect, from above to below. And the receiver, that's the Jewish people. We're the wife, we're the feminine aspect. We come from below. So the Jewish people, they contribute, so to speak, all of the flesh and the main part of the child. The child, of course, is the blessings that come into the world. So the main thing comes from the woman. Who is the woman? The woman in this case is the rabbis. Like it says, Isha Tazria, if a woman gives seed first, then she gives birth to a male. So the woman also gives birth. The contribution of the woman is all of the red parts, the blood, the flesh, and everything. And that's the same thing with the Torah. The main thing is what the rabbis say. But tipas dachar, the seed from the male, who rakadei laborer tipas nukva. This is just to activate, the direct, the the egg of the mother. That from the good parts of the egg come out the main part of the child. Like it says, Tazreni chayil. It's in the sentence in Psalms. Tazreni means to purify, to, like it says, Zores Agorin. Zorea means to separate. Birur, separate what's good. Okay, maybe we can skip this here. Okay, here it says that there's really two processes that are involved, not just one. Okay, Bakach hine. What does this come down to us? What is the purpose of the Mishnah? The Mishnah is just not the wisdom of the rabbis. It's not just what the old men sit and learn in the synagogue between Mincha and Ma'ariv. The Mishnah is actually the main will and wisdom of God, explained, brought into the world. Just like the child develops in the womb of the mother, and the mother, here he says, is that she gives the main body of the child. The same thing is also the Torah is developed inside of the Jewish people in the rabbis. And the rabbis, they're the ones that explain properly. And if you have a rabbi that has a different opinion from the opinion now, so you look in the Talmud and you see there was a rabbi back then that also had that opinion, and his opinion is not accepted. In other words, the Torah was given to us. That's the whole story of the Bible. What's the story of the Bible? That God created the world and he created man and he put the world in the hands of man. And if man had not sinned with the gold, with the eating from the tree, and later on, if the Jews had not sinned with the golden calf, then the Torah, the Torah will be given according to the Torah. The Torah would have been much clearer. The way Adam was, it seems that the Torah was almost inherent inside of him. God said he put him into Gan Eden, and he put in order to work on it and to protect it. Work on it, it says the positive commandments, and to protect it are the prohibitions. So it was also almost something inherent in him, and that's what's going to be in the days of the Mashiach. The Torah will be inherent in people, the Jews especially. They'll know automatically what to do. It says, Lo Yekanev Od Morecha, that you won't need teachers. People will see obviously what you do on Shabbos. On Shabbos, obviously you don't light fire. Everyone will see obviously what you put on tefillin. It's an obvious thing. To a certain degree, that's how it was in the Sephardic Jews before they came to the land of Israel. The Jews that were in Morocco and the Jews that were in Yemen, all of them were religious. All of them were. There were different levels of, the great rabbis in it, but everyone was religious. Everyone kept Shabbos. Everyone. Right? Until they came to the land of Israel, when they brought them to Israel, then they stripped them of all the government stripped them. But the Torah was something that was in everybody's bones. It was a natural thing. It was in a way more important than life. That's why the Jews were willing to give their lives, even simple Jews. Okay, so the Mishnayot, the Mishnahs, they clarify. They clarify. That is the wisdom of God coming through these great rabbis, because with wisdom things become clear. And the Torah asur v'mutar. So that's the whole idea of the masculine aspect that comes and refines everything and clarifies everything. What it shows what is forbidden and what is permissible. What does it mean? The word in Hebrew, permissible. Mutar and asur also in Hebrew have another meaning. Asur means to be tied up, bound, shackled, and mutar means to be freed. Perish mutar, what does it mean? What in this world is tied down and you can't elevate it, and what in this world is free and you can elevate, you can use it to serve God. What does mutar mean? It's eno asur, it's not tied down and bound in the chitzonim, in external forces, in egotism. The yochal lalot, and it can be elevated to holiness, to godliness, to Judaism. Ki hadam hu nefesh, because blood is the very soul, and we said that the blood, excuse me, that's basically the Mishnah. The blood is the Mishnah. That's the child, the blood, the red part of the blood. That's what the rabbis say. This Mishnah. So here we see that this has gone out of the category of religion. Judaism is certainly a religion. There's no doubt about it. It's a religion. But this part of the essence of Judaism has gone out of the category of religion. Religion is something that you do for yourself. Religion is something you do for yourself. Judaism is something you only do for God. You don't think about yourself at all. This is God's plan for the world. Behold, Mikol Michael, from all food that a person eats, Nefach Ladam becomes blood. He Talas Shloltin, there are three what's called rulers in the body: the liver, the heart, and the brain. Shenitbara Radam, when the blood becomes refined, it birach to birach, koach achila, then it becomes, it elevates by means of, he learns Torah, the mitpalel, and he prays. In other words, he attaches his mind and his understanding and his heart to the Creator with all of his heart and with all of his soul. Then the everything that he uses in the world becomes elevated to God. Elevated to God. What does it mean, elevated? It just becomes more clear, the truth which is in it. But things that are forbidden, foods that are forbidden, right? Hagam shalom, even though, let's say, a person, he eats a steak and he was told that the steak was kosher, but in fact the steak was not kosher. He didn't know it. From the meat house, they mixed up the kosher meat with the not kosher meat. They mixed it up, right? This happened to come from an ox that when the man slaughtered it, he delayed a little bit, or there was a little hole in the lungs, or so. Any one of the things that invalidate a meat from use becomes not kosher, but nobody knows it. Nobody knows it. Everybody, there's a big mistake that was done, and the Jew ate from this. So it says when a Jew does this, no matter how much he learns Torah, no matter how much he prays, no matter what, he has not elevated the world. He's not elevated the world. He hasn't made anything clear. This is what's called refining food. It's almost like, let's say, parents, by mistake, they think it's a healthy thing. They give their children to eat only white sugar. Only white sugar. That's all they give them. White sugar. The children love it. The kids love it. They look forward to every meal. White sugar, it's so sweet. It's so good. And they don't know that they're killing their kids. They're rotting their teeth out. They're rotting their brains out there, but they don't know. It messes them up. So, well, it's the same thing spiritually. We don't perceive spiritually, but a Jew that eats not kosher food, and even if he doesn't know, he thinks he's doing the right thing, but still it's, how do you say, it's destroying, it's unhealthy spiritually, and he doesn't know it. And what we want is that it should be a healthy world. That's what he says. Can also be so therefore the whole Torah was given in order to refine the world. If a person eats food, for instance, and it's kosher and he eats it according to the way the Torah says, then that elevates the food. It makes the world a better place. It makes it a little bit harder for humanity to kill each other and to steal and to lie and to do all the other things which are destructive. Although Michael, that's if he eats kosher food, but not kosher food, even though that if he learns and prays the whole day, it doesn't make the world clearer or more spiritual. The Cain Bira Levushim, and also refining garments. This is spoken about in the Tanya, also a great length. Here, what's the Rebbe trying to say? The Rebbe is trying to tell us that the Torah has the power to refine the world, and the main thing is the world. The main thing is the physical world. To a certain degree, the Torah is only a means to refine the world. The world is the main thing. This physical world. What about the thing of going to heaven, etc., like that? Okay, here, up to now, we know that if you do your job, you go to heaven. And heaven shows you the real truth, the real true purity, right? True purity. And that you do commandments and you refine the world, that's just like sort of that's the game. That's the challenge. That's the challenge. And the goal is to go to heaven. That's what he says over here. The Rambam also says that this. We'll see later on that there's something much better than that. Okay. But in order to draw down God's essential wisdom into the world, that God is chacham below v'chachmei yadiyah, that God is called wise. But it's no sort of wisdom that we can possibly comprehend. In order to do this, to refine the world, that's the Torah. God's wisdom is the world. In order to bring God's wisdom into the world so that it becomes actually practical and usable in the world, that's by means of the great rabbis called the Tanaim, which in the world are derogatorily, I mean, this is maybe the source of what they call anti-Semitism, hating the Jews. is hating the rabbis. Hating the rabbis. It says that in the Gemara and Gittin, it says that the founder of Christianity, that he's boiling in hell because he taught to hate the rabbis. What's so bad about hating the rabbis? When you go against the rabbis, it means that the Torah becomes, and you say, free game. It means nothing. It's not practical. Everybody can just make up whatever they want to. The Torah. So the Torah is not used to refine the world at all. Exactly the opposite. It just brings confusion and death into the world. And that's the whole thing of the Tanakh. That's why they're called derogatorily. They're called the The Pharisees. Pharisaites. Pharisite means, if you look it up in the dictionary, a Pharisee is a person, a pharisaical statement. What does it mean? Like how do you say, an untrue statement. Look, there's a better translation for it. Something that's false. It's false. It's like pretentious or something like that. Statement. Pharisaical. But the fact is, the Tanaim, those great rabbis, they had the power to raise the dead. It says even the least of them, they had the power to raise the dead. And they're the ones that wrote the Mishnah. That's the queen, it says. They're the queen, they're the wife of God. That's the Mishnah. They're the Bali Mishnah. They're the ones that wrote the Mishnah. Like it says, Eitanim Moste Oretz. Like it says, and the powerful ones, the ancient ones, they founded the world. That's the foundation of the world, is the Mishnah, the Jewish people. I mean, maybe you've asked yourself, why are the Jewish people so important in the world? And they say the Jews are controlling the world and the Jews want to control it. Well, the fact is the Jews are controlling the world. That's the fact. If the Jews do what they're supposed to, then the world is okay. If the Jews don't do what they're supposed to, then there's all this confusion in the world. That's the whole purpose that the Torah was given. It's not like people say that there's a big meeting and the Jews want to take all the money in the world. They want to take out the power. That's not the job of the Jews. That's Jews that have left the Torah. Maybe they want to do crazy things. And even then, they can't. You could never get the Jews all together to make any sort of a plan. I mean, it's just amazing that Jews agree on anything. Two Jews, you have 4 opinions already. The Eitanim, the letters Eitanim, that's the letters of the Tanaim. It says that the ancient ones founded the earth. Eitanim, this is the letters of Tanaim. Where is that sentence from? Just give me 1 second and I'll tell you in a second. Eitanim is the founder of the word. I forgot where it comes from. Here we go. 1 second. Here we go. Or excuse me, 1 moment. Excuse me. I did look this up yesterday and I forgot it. What can you do? People forget. Here we go. Test base. Mem test base. Excuse me. Give me 1 minute. Eitanim, I think it comes from Job. Eitanim. Test base. Here it is. Yes. Master Eitan. That's the Tehillim. Here it is. Eitan. No. Tikkun Zohar. Oh, it is. I'm sorry. It's from the prophet Micha. It says Eitanim Mosde Oretz. It's from the prophet Micha. Anyway, it means that the ancient ones found the world. That's the Tanaim. The Tanaim, those great rabbis that were able to interpret the Torah properly, they are the foundation of the whole world. And because the whole world depends on the Torah, the world is only here for the Torah to refine it. And look at this Torah, Baal Peh. This is what's called the oral Torah. The Mishnah, the Gemara, the Talmud. Like it says, Maskila Eitan. It's one in Psalms. This is a song to Eitan. Eitan is Shemamshichan, that they draw down from this level of maskil. The maskil, which is the source of consciousness, the source of awareness, is drawn down, like it says, maskil al davar. And so they draw down from not just seichel, which is intelligence, but from maskil, which is the source of intelligence, source of awareness. That's what the rabbis, Rabbi Akiva, the Hillel, Shammai, what they all drew down into the world. Nikra Malchus. That's why they're called the queen. Sheyichud HaMelech Imo, that the king is united with the king constantly. She is always his wife. Tamid v'yichud v'zehu hamshachas mad. This is drawing down what's called masculine waters of the upper wisdom of God. Masculine water simply means blessing into this world from God, from above to below. This is in order to refine Hamayan and Nukvin, the feminine waters from this world of Ban, and Ban is the numerical value of 52, which is another, the power, which is this physical world. We talked about that in another place. It says that Ma Ma comes from Chachma. That's a Chachma Eloah, that's Ma, and it comes down to refine the Man, which is the feminine waters. It comes to inspire us in this world that we should do things, feminine waters, to raise from below to above and refine this world, which this world is signified by the 52, the numerical value of 52, Ban, which is another name of God, a numerical value of the. And all of this is done by means of the Tanaim. This is all done by means of the Mishnah. So if you think that these boys sitting in the yeshivas and they're learning these books, and the Mishnah, and they're learning Gemara, and they're just doing it because they're lazy, whatever they are. And so that's, I mean, I'm sure that there must be some lazy people, but that's not the main essence of learning the Torah is very, very difficult. It's very difficult to learn the Torah. It is not easy at all. There's a lot of trouble, a lot of questions, a lot of answers. A lot of times you think you're sure and you're not. And then finally you sit and you learn, you get finally the right answer. You know you're sure. And then the head of the yeshiva comes and he gives a class and you realize you didn't know what you were talking about. You got the wrong idea, but you're not alone. Other people also had this idea. And then maybe it's a little bit right. And that's the whole idea of the Torah. The Torah comes, it's not just a Jewish book. It's the book of the creator of the universe, the only one. And God took the Jews out of Egypt in order to give it to us. And personally himself, to explain to us the reason for creation. Okay, and this is what we're going to continue learning, God willing, tomorrow. Because this is the rabbis, they never said anything that they didn't receive from their rabbis before them. It was all, and that was given already from Moses on Mount Sinai, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. The importance of the Torah. The Torah is the only solution to get us out of this confusion that there is in the world and make a good, proper world. Learning Torah. Learning Torah is of utmost importance. We'll learn about doing good deeds also. The Torah has to be brought into action because that's part of the Torah. But right now what we're learning about is the Torah itself, the letters of the Torah, the words of the Torah. That's the names of God. And that's the name of this week's Torah portion, the name of this whole book, Shmot, names. Names. If you remember, that was the question that we asked in the beginning. What did it mean that in Parshas Vayigash it says that these are the names of the Jews that went down into Egypt, and Yaakov and his sons. And then this week's Torah portion just repeats the same thing with small differences. And we're going to answer why those differences exist, etc. But now let's do the Davar Malchut.